numbers, yeah. All the same numbers. His sideboard, a little different than Jerry's sideboard. He has 6 Jaces between the main deck and the sideboard. But other than that, the main deck, very similar.
All the way down to the 1 Supreme Verdict. So for those of you who were just watching on camera our replay match, Jerry's deck is, and Brad's deck, is very much a board control all sweepers deck.
Exactly. He has a lot of pinpoint removal like Pillar of Flame, Azorius Strong, but he also has a lot of sweepers like 4 Terminus, 1 Supreme Verdict. And then he finishes it off with things like Entreat the Angels and Planeswalkers. Of course, Snapcaster Mages for value. Now, Joe Bernal, on the other hand, Rakdos Aggro.
Right. So Joe Bernal's deck is a zombies deck. It's very much like black-red zombies. It's playing Gravecrawler, Diregraph Ghoul, the only new card, Rakdos Cackler, then Blood Artist, Falconwrath Aristocrat, and the Messenger. Searing Spear, Bump of the Night, Brimstone Volley, Pillar of Flame. So, not too much outside of the norm, except he's added Rakdos Cackler to the traditional black-red zombies deck.
Right, and he also added another dual land in the form of Rakdos Guildgate, which means he has the full 12 duels in his deck. So his mana should be pretty good, and he'll lead on Blood Crypt. What's coming after it, though? Looks like Diregraph.
And Brad, Plains Go. So Brad, this is, I think, we saw before, Brad's on a 5-card hand, by the way.
Oh, wow.
That's going to really hurt him. We saw before this the Blue-White-Red Miracles deck in Jerry's hands take down a Green-Red aggro deck. This, to me, seems like it'll be a much harder matchup because he has Burn.
Yeah, this is going to be a really, really hard matchup for Brad Nelson. The amount of reach in Joe Bernal's deck is just absurd.
Now, both players stuck on 1 land. Joe doesn't care, though. He has 1-drops.
Yeah, he has 12 1-drops in his deck, so he could care less. And Brad Nelson hacks it in. Wow.
All right, so Joe winning on the 1-land keep. Kind of a non-game, that first one.
Looked like about a 45-second game. You see the clock, 49:10 right now. Brad Nelson can't be happy about that one, but he has a serious face-on. So does Joe. They know it's still going to be a real match. Brad Nelson will try and channel the powers of that stylish hat he's wearing and really try and take down Joe Bernal here.
Yeah.
Looking at the sideboard, Red doesn't actually have that many options. He has Supreme Verdicts, which are marginal against Joe Bernal.
Yeah, they're good, but not great. They may be better than, I believe they may be better than Terminus. It's hard to say. They don't, the Terminus deals much better with the Messenger and Gravecrawler. In fact, Terminus probably is just a stronger card. Brad has, the cards in sideboard he has Guys of Saint Traft, Dissipate, Negate, Purify the Grave, Sundering Growth, Supreme Verdict, and Jace Memory Adept. The only new card in there is Sundering Growth, which is the disenchant that populates.
Yeah, and really, I'm looking at his sideboard. I don't think he's going to side in any cards except these Supreme Verdicts. His deck is already pretty well set up to fight against creatures, but unfortunately for him, Joe's deck is just really, really well suited.
Right, Joe also has the opportunity to side in Underworld Connections in this matchup. That's a 3-mana aura that you put on a land that turns your land into a Phyrexian arena. I do think if I'm Joe, I want to play that card, possibly over a card like Falconwrath Aristocrat. I might just actually want to draw extra cards and cast more burn spells at Brad.
Interesting. I might side out the Blood Artist against... Well, actually, what land did Brad play that game?
Just a Plains.
A Plains. So Joe might or might not know what he's playing.
Right. It does depend. These, especially with these guys who both travel a lot to play on the circuit, it's very possible they know what each other's playing in this scenario. But if he doesn't know what he's playing, Joe probably makes no changes. It'd be very hard to tell what you're supposed to side in based off that.
Yeah. So Joe on the left will be on the draw with his Rakdos aggro deck. Falconwrath Aristocrat's a pretty interesting card in the matchup. I mean, like you said, it is a little slower of a card, but at the same time it can provide that punch. I don't think he'll side it out. I think we'll definitely see 3 Pillar of Flame come out for 3 Underworld Connections.
There are Pillar of Flame. I did miss that. That's easily a better cut.
The question is, does he want Dreadbore instead of Searing Spear? I think that's the real question. I definitely think the answer is no. Just like we talked about earlier, Searing Spear just pretty much strictly better, I believe.
Well, especially I don't think the late games. Brad's cards answer, his Planeswalkers answer creatures in the late game. Joe's on a mulligan, Brad keeping 7. But late game, I think Joe will be wanting more burn spells as opposed to ways to answer Planeswalkers. You know, because he doesn't really need to kill a Tamiyo, actually.
Right. He doesn't care about a Tamiyo. Like, sure, if it ultimates then Brad's in great shape. But if it's ultimating, I mean...
Right, so when you think about relevant targets, there's only 4 Jace.
Right.
And that's not enough to merit boarding in Dread 4.
Right, and a Searing Spear should kill a Jace, unless the game's going really strangely.
If you're casting Searing Spear at a Jace, it's probably the game's not going very well already.
Right. So both players are going to be doing minimal sideboarding here. They both more have cards for other matchups.
Right.
Now, if you're Brad Nelson, what do you take out for those 2 Supreme Verdicts?
Well, I'm not impressed with Tamiyo here. That would probably be my first thought. You do need a way to win, and I think Entreat does that for you. I would probably want Tamiyo to be gone for them.
Yeah, he's only playing 2, and the full 4 Jace Architect of Thought, so it'll be interesting. He definitely has to side out some number of Planeswalkers. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see which ones he sides out.
Joe's hand also not keepable. It was double Aristocrat, double Searing Spear, 1 land. That's a very easy decision for him. So, kind of looks like both games they've traded Mull to 5s.
Yeah, I think the time spent shuffling is now about 5 times as much as the time spent playing.
And neither of these decks mull to 5 very well. Well, Brad's can. Joe's deck's really hurt. It's a philosophy of fire deck, and mulliganing really does hurt it. Right.
When you draw your opener, it has 2 bump in the Knight's 3 lands. You want to go to 4, but you can't even do it because that's just going to compound it. How about Syncopate from Brad? Do you think that'll be a role player? Do you think it'll be in the deck?
Well, you mean like, I don't think he'll side it out if that's what you're asking. It gives him early game. It's one of his few cards that gives him early game.
Right.
So I think it's pretty important. I think Brad will be really happy to see them in his opener.
Yeah, I think even on the draw, he'll definitely want those 2 cards. Yeah, Brad's deck, he'll have a great game against any control deck out there because he'll be able to side in 4 counterspells, 3 Geists, 2 Jace Memory Adept. So I think Brad really built his deck with the with the top brackets in mind. I think he said, I want to be able to beat the top pros in the room because there will be a lot of them. He knew that, and he built his deck that way. So I think he's sort of taking a gamble here. Wants to get through the first few rounds.
Joe's hand's a keep. It's Triple Swamp. It does not have. It's Triple Swamp. It has a Blood Artist in it, and it's a Gravecrawler.
Underworld Connections, I believe that is.
Well, that would be very good for him. So Brad, Steam Vent's going to play tap or untapped. Faith, he's going to shock himself to pillar the Gravecrawler. Joe's probably okay with that. I don't think it's really going to get much better than that for Gravecrawler 2 damage.
No, probably not.
So Brad drops to 18. Brad, 3rd card. Turn 2 Blood Artist from Joe Bernal. Brad's 3rd card is Glacial Fortress. Joe needs to make sure he doesn't play into Syncopate here.
At the same time, though, his draw might be so bad that he might just have to slam this card.
Underworld Connections, if it resolves, is very strong.
Yeah, here it
He's
comes.
He's going to cast it on the swamp.
Wow.
So resolve. This is pretty big here if it does. Well, Brad could have Detention Sphere as well.
Ooh, that's true. That does deal with that. So
but
Joe,
until that goes away, Brad's actually in a kind of... He needs to answer that. All right, Jace. Jace is going to come down and mini Factor Fiction with 3 lands, 2 Shock lands and a Sulphur Falls. And Joe split them into 1 and 2, and Brad will take the pair.
Yep. Didn't really matter what he did there.
All right. Well, as long as Brad's digging for a way to try to answer Underworld Connections. Blood Crypt in play untapped for Joe Bernal.
Wow.
Falcon Wrath Aristocrat attacks Jace.
It's a perfect draw. And wow, Blood Artist did not come in. I think Joe Bernal thought that... No, Jace went down.
Jace is... No, but Blood Artist is always a 0/1.
Oh, okay. I'm confusing that with a different card.
Okay. Sure.
Sure.
So he does have that machine gun. It did mean Joe missed an Underworld Connections turn. Doesn't look like Brad still has a way. Does he have the Detention Sphere? Yes, he's going to cast Detention Sphere. The question is he going to target Underworld Connections or the Aristocrat? He's going to target the Connections, and that's certainly correct. All right, untap from Joe. So now Joe, he does have a Brimstone Ball. He's going to have to swing for 4. Brad drops down to 14. And Gravecrawler. Gravecrawler gives Joe a really good... If Joe can draw another zombie, this is very terrifying.
Oh yeah, that means that aristocrat is just going to balloon out of proportion.
He's going to sack to make his aristocrat indestructible to deal 1 to Brad. It looks like his last card is a zombie. Otherwise, this play does not particularly make sense.
No. So Brad Nelson looks to be dropping to 12 here, 1 for the Blood Artist.
And Joe has messed up. He thought that the artist was a zombie. It's not.
Wow.
That play is pretty bad.
He says,
I was wondering about that. All right,
Instead,
but whatever. Okay, instead I'll Brimstone Ball your face while I have the opportunity. Brad drops to 9. Slightly embarrassing for Joe. If he can draw another zombie, it should be fine. A Miracle Terminus for Brad. Well, that it ends up not having an effect then. Doesn't matter. Joe can only get 1 damage off this, no matter how he stacks it. So Brad will be dropping to, should be 7 then.
So he'll sack the Blood Artist to the Aristocrat. 7 life. Aristocrat on the bottom.
Bernal's going to want another Underworld Connections or another Aristocrat would both be very good draws for him. He's going to need them soon. Brad's flashing back a Think Twice.
Yeah, and Brad can't really be comfortable with this 7 life, but at the same time, versus an empty-handed opponent.
Yeah, he's going to have to just find something to do. Joe, a bump in the night is a pretty scary draw from Joe. Yeah. And there it is. All right, bump. All right, Brad drops to 4.
4 life. And now any land means Brad's on 1, and he has so many cards that deal 1 damage in his deck.
Brad has Terminus, Pillar of Flame. Does that Entreat the Angels?
Not sure. I think I saw...
It can't be. He would have made it.
Yeah, I saw a blue spell in there.
Diagraph Ghoul into play tapped from Joe. And Brad's going to have to... And Gravecrawler. Oh. I don't like the Gravecrawler cast there, because now Brad's going to Terminus it. I would have gone without the Gravecrawler cast, because all Joe really cares about is pushing 2.
Right, exactly. He just needed 2 damage. Now his creatures go to the bottom. Oh, maybe not. This is 4 mana. Oh, Supreme Verdict. Same thing.
I mean, Brad has Pillar and Terminus. I don't think it really matters. And Falconwrath Aristocrat.
And
does that get him?
4.
What did he do there?
We might have the life total wrong.
I think Brad's at 1. I think...
Judge might be pointing out that Brad's dead here.
They're going to verify life totals. I think we may be off by 1, so we'll see what's happening there. Both players seem to think Brad's not dead. Oh, okay.
And Brad gets the news from the judge that he is dead. Wow.
All right, so Joe Bernal.
The Mull to 5, Joe Bernal.
Mull to 5. I think this is a really rough matchup for Brad's deck.
Yeah, I think if they played 100 games, Brad would probably win about 20 of them. I think it's that
sounds
bad.
About right.
You usually don't find matchups that bad, but I think this is one of them.
Well, the biggest problem is, as we saw there, Joe's ability to just out-top deck Brad. Brad had him exactly where we wanted him. 7 life's obviously not 100, not 20 life, but I don't know how much life Brad would expect to be at the stabilizing moment. 7 seems like a pretty reasonable expectation, and the fact that he lost from there is pretty, Yeah, Brad thought he was at 5 life, is what we're getting reported. But the problem is that Brad can't stabilize. He's going to lose eventually because he can't deal with Joe's haste creatures or burn spells. So Brad's hope is, what he was drawing there toward wasn't Entreat the Angels.
Right, that's really all he could draw. I mean, Jace, Architect, have thought, sure, he can fool around with the top.
Jace will find an Entreat.
Yeah, it'll find an Entreat eventually.
Yeah, but that's what it does, and that's not that great. So
exactly. So Brad